Hey everyone, real quick, I just wanted to say on the last video, you guys absolutely killed it. Thank you for all the love, but 98% of you were not subscribed. When I saw that number, it was honestly worse than Kevin Durant leaving to join the Warriors, so make sure to subscribe, and thank you.
Last week, we decided to rank 1 through 15 every team in the Western Conference based on where I believe they'll end up in the standings. Now, following that up, here we go with the Eastern Conference. I'm not going to sit here and talk your ear off, so let's get straight into it. I'm Mason, everyone, and here is my number 15 team for the Eastern Conference. As you could obviously predict, my number 15 team for the Eastern Conference is the Brooklyn Nets. They don't really have any bright spots on this team other than Cam Thomas getting to chuck as many shots as he wants in a game. I believe that this team will just be full tank, full rebuild, hoping to get Flagg in the draft. If they really want to, they could dish out Claxton and kind of push back the rebuild even more. I don't know for sure if they'll do that. Ben Simmons has looked decent in the preseason so far. Obviously, he has a lot to work on, but seeing him actually attack the basket and go to the rim and everything, shoot a fadeaway shot or two, it looks very good from him. And I hope he continues that aggression and confidence in his game that we used to see from him in Philadelphia. I think Cam Thomas will easily average 25 to 27 points a game. I can definitely see that from him. He's going to get full green light from this team. No Mikal Bridges to take shots anymore. They're all his. He can do whatever he wants to. And at number 14, I have the Washington Wizards. Returning to a familiar place for the Wizards. I love the young pieces that they've acquired in Bilal Coulibaly and in Carrington. The problem is with Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma as theoretically your team's best players, I don't see a world in which you'll end up very high in the standings, unfortunately. While Kyle Kuzma is a pretty good player, Jordan Poole definitely needs to return back to his Golden State Warriors days in which he was playing at a higher level, a lot more efficient from the field. I do think it threw him off a lot to have to be the main focus of a defense instead of in Golden State where he was this plug and play guy off the bench, where it's like we had to worry about Steph for the first 8-9 minutes of the game. Now we have to deal with Jordan Poole, versus now it's like they're coming out, they're scheming against him, they're putting their best defender on him, which he was not seeing that type of coverage on the Warriors. I do like Valanciunas on this team. You've heard me talk about him a ton on this channel, and I think for them he's not a bad fit. I don't know for sure if they'll actually keep him there though. They might dish him out for some odd reason. Also, they might do that in hopes of being a works team, in hopes of getting into the Flagg or Ace Bailey sweepstakes. At number 13, I have the Detroit Pistons. I can't believe still the Pistons lost 179 games in a row last year. Okay, it was actually only like 28, but still it felt like that. Cade Cunningham is probably going to improve again. Jaden Ivey is going to improve with the new coaching. I do think they'll do better under the new coaching of JB Bickerstaff just because he's instilling more of a culture with the team. He already said he doesn't allow them to wear hoodies during shoot-around practice, anything like that. It shows the coaching's a little more serious. Monty Williams didn't even want to be there last year. He said he wasn't wanting to coach. He took a fat bag, went there to coach, and then now he's still getting paid from them and from Phoenix, I believe. So he's set for life pretty much with that kind of money. Jalen Duren is a very good bright spot for this team as we saw last year, and I think as long as he keeps putting up solid numbers for them, playing good defense, being dominant in the paint is going to be huge for them going forward. And this is just another team that's kind of going to be in that Flagg sweepstakes. It seems like the East has a couple more of these teams compared to the West. The West is very much like you have the Blazers, Jazz, and then even the Spurs you expect to be competitive this year. In the East, you have all these teams, probably 12 through 15, maybe even 11, are just all trying to tank. All right, number 12 in the Eastern Conference, I have the Chicago Bulls. Getting rid of DeRozan does hurt this team a lot. I'm not going to let this play into my ranking at all, but just skepticism. There's rumors that the Kings could be trading for either Zach LaVine or for Brandon Ingram, and I don't know for sure why they'd get Zach LaVine, but just in case he gets dished off, this team is going to be heavy tanking. I mean, Vucevic has also been on the market as well, so if they get rid of everyone, I mean, you're looking at a Kobe White, Josh Giddey, Patrick Williams led team, and especially with Matas Buzelis there, you're kind of just building the young guys up. It was kind of crazy seeing Chicago go from that. Having a lot of these younger guys, you know, when they had Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, those kind of players, they went into now picking up some of these older guys. You have Vucevic, who's 33 years old. I didn't even know he was that old. And for some reason, when I Googled it, when I typed in Nikola, the first one that popped up was Vucevic. So maybe he is better than Jokic. So actually moved the Bulls up to a 4 seed this year. So far, I don't see any light with the Bulls right now. I don't know why they really wanted to trade for Josh Giddey. When you have Kobe White, you're just taking the ball out of his hands. Josh Giddey cannot be very effective with the ball out of his hands. He's not very good off ball. He's not good on defense. So for when it comes to signs to look for the Bulls, you want Kobe White to get better as well. Just hope that the ball doesn't get taken out of his hands as much. You want Josh Giddey to be a better defender than he was and better off the ball, maybe catch and shoot scenarios, not how he played in the playoffs against Dallas. Lonzo Ball back playing for the Bulls is probably one of my favorite things. I got chills seeing when they were bringing him onto the court and the crowd started cheering and everything. It was very just heartwarming to see him back on the floor. So that's going to be one of the bright spots of the Bulls season, is just seeing Lonzo Ball. That's one of the only things I really care about to see with the Chicago Bulls. And at number 11, I have the Toronto Raptors. I really love the Raptors squad they have here. I just hated having to put them this low, but when I was comparing to some of the other teams, I was like also looking at the quote from Jakob Poeltl where he said that they're not looking to win games this year, they're looking to rebuild. That quote alone moved them down 2 spots. I originally did have them at 9, and that quote alone moved them down. Scotty Barnes is probably in my top 3 to top 5 players in the NBA. I really do enjoy his game. I love seeing how much effort he puts in on both sides of the floor. His great defense. I love his personality as well. He's a very funny guy. But as for basketball wise, I don't know for sure what the direction for this Toronto team is. I like them having RJ Barrett though. Since he joined the Raptors, he's actually been putting up very, very good numbers. So the crazy thing is his shooting percentage from the field went up 13% and his 3-point percentage went up 6% after he left the New York Knicks, which is kind of crazy to look at, that someone's shooting percentage went up 13%. He was shooting around the same amount of shots per game. Keep that up, RJ. Scotty, keep doing your thing. Emmanuel quickly just got a bag in the off season. He just signed a fat $175 million deal. And other than what they have there, Bruce Brown, ever since they acquired him, they haven't really done a lot with him. Just with them tanking and developing younger players is going to be a focus for this team. So I can see Grady Dick getting a lot more opportunity this year. At number 10, I have the Atlanta Hawks. Another season of mediocrity from the Hawks. You just won the draft lottery, got Zachary Richardson, and for this team, what to even expect? I don't know. This is why I put them at 10, because I'm just like, if it's the Atlanta Hawks, they're going to finish around the 8 to 11 range in the East, just that almost a 500 even record. Getting rid of DeJounte, you know, you got Larry Nance Jr., who, me personally, seeing him on the Pelicans, he would make a couple bonehead plays every once in a while, which would cost them. Other than that, I mean, they're sticking with Trey, Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu. I don't see a lot of bright spots for this Atlanta team. Jalen Johnson is one of the few. He is improving. He's in the running to win most improved player this year. A lot of people are predicting. Other than that, Trae Young, you know, he is a very high usage player, takes a lot of shots, has the ball in his hands a ton. I mean, really, other than losing DeJounte, that's kind of what you're doing more, is putting it back in his hands. Pause. You're putting the ball back in his hands and hoping to get back where you were a couple of years ago when you made the Eastern Conference Finals. The only issue with that is you do not have really the same roster that you did then. As for fantasy owners, I do think that Trae Young is a very good pickup, as he's going to put up ridiculous scoring and assist numbers. Win-wise, don't expect much from this Atlanta team this season. At number 9, I have the Charlotte Hornets. Now, this is the team I actually swapped with the Raptors. The reason I like the Hornets is because Brandon Miller was very, very good last year. And Brandon Miller averaged 17 points a game last year. If you can get him up to 20 points a game would be amazing. If you get LaMelo on the court, that's the biggest thing with this team. When we saw LaMelo Ball healthy at an all-star level, they were a play-in and a playoff team. They can easily get back there as long as you get him back on the court. Miles Bridges, obviously, he's going to play a little bit of defense, make a couple threes, couple crazy dunks, windmills every once in a while, stuff like that. Other than that, Charlotte, again, is another one of those teams that doesn't have a crazy ton of bright spots. It's just insane looking at the top of the East and how top heavy it is. The West is very deep throughout. Like, there's probably 10, 11, 12 teams that could make the play-in. And then you look at the East, 4 of those teams that could make it don't want to. The Raptors don't want to make the play-in. The Hawks maybe don't want to either. You don't know. The Hornets, depending on if LaMelo plays, they're not going to want to make the play-in. They're going to want to be as low as possible to get higher draft picks. Other than that, I just want to see Brandon Miller just improve a little bit more. I'd love to see LaMelo play more than half of the games this season. If we could see 50 games from him, 55, anything above that would be just outstanding. So that's my only thing for the Charlotte Hornets. All right, and number 8, I have the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, again, a play-in team easily. The reason I put them here, Jimmy Butler's load management and health is going to be the number one thing for this team. It's always an issue as Jimmy Butler doesn't play very much during the regular season compared to what he could. He's an elite playoff player. He's one of the best that we've seen. You can't put them high in the standings just based on what they have. They don't make a lot of moves throughout the offseason. So you're kind of just sitting here like, okay, Jaime Jaquez, you want him to improve as well. Nikola Jovic, gonna get more playing time again like he did last year. Duncan Robinson, same thing. Other than that, Bam Adebayo, I mean, this is your team, buddy. You gotta, whether it's offensively, take a leap. Could you imagine Bam Adebayo averaging 20, 22 points a game? That'd be incredible. I don't think it'll happen, unfortunately, but having Tyler Hero still definitely helps the offensive production. Another problem they have is health as well. So, I mean, realistically, if everyone's healthy, I could see them being up to, 5, 6, but that's just not possible for this Miami Heat team for everyone to be healthy, unfortunately. They don't really have that dog during the regular season that can carry them to wins. When Jimmy Butler is on and off the court during the regular season, Tyler Hero is a good player, but I mean, he's not going to be the guy you have as your number one option throughout the regular season, unfortunately, even though he is incredible. I do like watching him. I like his game. Or just another one of those teams that you can't really see them being super high in the standings, unfortunately, for the Miami Heat. At number 7, I have the Indiana Pacers. When I was going through looking at the standings, I was like, man, you look at the standings from last year, you can't have the exact same standings without somebody dropping. So last year, the Pacers were the 6th seed. The reason I have them at 7, during the offseason, they didn't really do much. And when I say do much, I mean they didn't really do anything at all. And unfortunately, in today's NBA, if you aren't doing things to improve, then you will be getting worse because you can't stay stagnant. That's what sucks the most. I mean, they extended TJ McConnell. Other than that, this team didn't really do much. The playmaking aspect of Tyrese Haliburton is going to be huge. Last year, when he was healthy before he got hurt, the Pacers were a lot higher in the standings. They were winning a lot of games, and he was averaging like 24 and 11 or something like that. Like, there were genuine arguments between him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which obviously those were squashed by the end of the season. Seeing the level he's capable of playing at is definitely scary. He is a guy that can shoot 50, 40, 90. Looking for that efficiency, leadership from him. Defensively, he's not amazing. You just have to look on Andrew Nembhard to be that perimeter defender for this team, which I definitely think he's able to do. Other than that, last year they were 24th defense in points per 100 possessions. They gave up 119 points per 100 possessions. So they were almost a bottom 5 defense just by that metric last year. And although they are a very high scoring, fast paced team, if you can't get a stop, that's going to be a problem come playoff time, because as we saw in the playoffs, not as much against Milwaukee, but in a couple games you did kind of see that where like Damian Lillard went crazy in that first game in the first half. But against the Boston Celtics, their defense actually was not terrible. Andrew Nembhard definitely did step up for this team. Tyrese Haliburton, a great player, a great leader for this team. I just don't see them being super high in the standings due to everyone else getting a little bit better at the top of the East. At number 6, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. I didn't want to put them lower. So last year they were the 3 seed, obviously. I didn't want to put them at 6. The reason I did is because I want them to preserve the health of Giannis and Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton too, because he's had a couple injuries. Come playoff time, you don't want those guys to be out. Giannis has not played playoff basketball the last 2 seasons. You want him to play, so if he misses a couple extra games and they lose a couple, I'd be fine with that. I actually want that for them because I want Giannis to be there in the playoffs. Watching the Bucks play playoff basketball without Giannis, they look like a play-in team. They really do. Having Damian Lillard there helps, and again, he wasn't healthy this playoffs either. He got hurt. I do think this is a championship contender at the end of the day, but as long as Giannis and Damian Lillard both stay on the court, that's your biggest issue. Damian Lillard, seeing him create shots is always one of the most exciting things to watch, but the problem is he was not great for this team last year. He had a little bit of a shaky down year for himself. I do think he'll be a little bit better now meshing with this Milwaukee team, and him and Giannis just have to learn to be a little more fluid together. Before they fired AJ Griffin last year, they were like 30-11, something like that. Obviously, when they had Mike Budenholzer, that was by far their best coach for this team. I'm not the biggest believer in this Milwaukee team just due to the fact of health, especially in the regular season. Come playoff time, I'm not worried about them as long as their guys are there. There's not many people who I'd rather have over Giannis in a playoff series. This is the same guy that had 50 in a game 6 to close out the NBA Finals against the Phoenix Suns 3 years ago. I believe he can get right back up to that level again, putting up incredible numbers. He's still easily a top 5 player in the NBA. Watch out. This team is scary. At number 5, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would put the Cavs higher, but it was just kind of hard as you get higher up in the Eastern Conference. Last year, they did have some injuries. Mitchell, Garland, and Evan Mobley, none of them played over 57 games. Despite that, they still won 48. They were still the number 4 seed. And last year, they went 17-1 between January into early February. They were on an 18-game tear where they only lost once. During that time, I was like, is this team someone we need to be worried about? I don't know for sure if I'd consider them a championship contender, but if they can keep that elite play up, they can definitely show out in the playoffs, make an Eastern Conference Finals run. Just, you want Darius Garland to be back at the level he was playing at. He did lose a family member last season and also was dealing with injuries. He even came out and said that he was just not enjoying playing basketball. So if he can get back to playing near the all-star level that we've seen from him, this team could even be higher. That front court doesn't need to be insane offensively because that's arguably one of the best defensive front courts in the league, having Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. And it's also a very good thing that Jarrett Allen can create his own shot a small bit. You just want to keep the ball in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland's hands as much as possible, and you want Donovan Mitchell to be playing at the near MVP level that he was playing at, especially during that stretch. People were saying, hey, this guy's a top 5 player in the NBA. When we see him playing at his highest, he definitely can be a top 5 player in the NBA. He can average near 30 points a game, and that's what you need from this Cavaliers team. Him and Darius Garland playing at their best. This makes the Cavaliers dangerous, especially in the playoffs. And at number 4, I have the Orlando Magic. I have them jumping over the Cavs, but they would be rematching in the playoffs based on my predictions. The thing is with the Orlando Magic, they picked up Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, from the Nuggets, and they kept pretty much all the other guys. And with a young core like that, we've seen that when you keep those guys, you add a piece here and there, it does make your team a lot better. And having another very good perimeter defender in KCP, you can expect a jump from this team. Paolo Banchero, one of the most upcoming fun to watch players in the NBA. Love watching his game. I think with Franz Wagner on the team, his biggest issue is his efficiency, especially from 3. That 3 ball was not very good last year. In the playoffs as well, he did not have a great end of that playoff series against the Cavs. This team offensively is really their only struggle. They have always had a very good defense. So the last time that this team was top 15, the last time they were above league average in points per 100 possessions was 2012. So since then, they have not even had an average offense. That is disgusting. If you can get more offensive efficiency from Franz Wagner, if you can keep Jonathan Isaac on the court as well, he is very important to keep on the court. Jonathan Isaac was very impressive and incredible to see on this team. Having him back will be a very huge difference between what can make them a play-in team and a playoff team. Jalen Suggs had a very, very solid year last year as well. From a guy that shot almost 40% from three last year, if you can get that again from Jalen Suggs, and if you can get Franz Wagner to shoot league average from three, even if he can shoot 34-35%, that would be incredible for this Orlando Magic team, and that's what you look for from then. At number 3, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers are a very hard team to rank when it comes to standings. They're probably the hardest one to rank in the entire Eastern Conference because you don't know how healthy they're going to be. Paul George, hyperextended knee. They said no structural damage, so that's not too bad. It did look kind of gross, the actual injury itself. They said no structural damage, so that's good. If he can't stay on the court, you're pairing him with Embiid, who can't stay on the court. So it's Tyrese Maxey's team, and then you just got to expect him to average 30 points a game when Embiid's not playing and hope that you could still pull a top 4 seed in the East. That's just not likely. You want Embiid to play at least 50 to 60 games this year. Paul George, same with you, 55, 60 games. Let's say Embiid's out. He said he's not playing in back-to-backs. So, he plays the first game of the back-to-back, doesn't play the second, right? Paul George and Maxey both need to play because you're not going to stand as much of a chance as we saw last year. When Embiid played, they were like 30-9 or 31-9. They still ended up as a play-in team because when he was out, they just were not very good. I do really love Tyrese Maxey's game. Seeing him play in person, I got to witness him play. That's actually this shirt. I went to the Timberwolves and 76ers preseason game, and seeing Tyrese Maxey play in person and Paul George both was so much fun. And I do think having Andre Drummond on this team as a backup big will be huge, and especially if Embiid's out, he's decent. He can play some defense. He's a board monster. In that preseason game, he played 24 minutes, but he had 15 rebounds, and every one of them just go up there and snag that thing with both hands. He was so much fun to watch as well. I really do like Andre Drummond. Seeing Tyrese Maxey play in person though was quite the spectacle. He's so fast, shifty. He's really fun to watch. You combine that with now, if Embiid's not playing, if you have Paul George's shot creation as well. You can't just throw doubles at Maxey and expect, we can just make Tobias Harris beat us. That's not going to work when you have Paul George on the team as well. So I do think the Sixers are going to be very dangerous. This is a championship contender. Give me the 76ers as a championship contender for this season. At number 2, in the Eastern Conference, I have the New York Knicks. They had probably the most chaotic and crazy offseason that we saw, getting Karl-Anthony Towns from the Timberwolves and getting Mikal Bridges from the Nets. You're having a starting 5 of Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, you can swap out some players there. If you want Mitchell Robinson in when he's healthy playing or whatever, he's not even going to play until the beginning of 2025 at least, the team has said. So you're going to start the year off probably with the starting lineup I just named, but let's say he's back, you might put Josh Hart at your 6th man and just have Cat and then Mitchell Robinson. Now, I do love the spacing that Cat brings to this team. Being able to stretch the floor, shoot from deep is very important, especially when you compare it to Julius Randle, who was not a great three-point shooter, especially last year. I do like what this brings to this team, especially with Jalen Brunson. It allows him a little more room to work with, and last year, especially when Randle is out, he was one of the best scorers in the whole league. I think that even with losing Dante DiVincenzo, this team can still benefit and move up in the standings and a little closer to that gap with the number 1 team just based on the pieces they picked up. And now that Mikal Bridges doesn't have to focus offensively as much as he did in Brooklyn, he was the number 1 option there scoring wise. You can finally just say, hey, Mikal, you only have to take 9-10 shots in a game because you have Jalen Brunson. So now you can focus focus on playing your elite defense that you were at a defensive player of the year level, in which he was second in defensive player of the year in the 2022 season. And that was the year that the Suns won 64 games, or was it 62? It was 60 something. They were really good. When you have his elite defense and OG Anunoby, that's the most disgusting wing defense, perimeter defense in the NBA. OG Anunoby is arguably the best perimeter defender. He's up there, you know, him and Drew Holiday, whatever. Mikal Bridges, when he plays elite defense, he's in that conversation as well. Leave the offensive part. Now you can kind of rearrange that. Give Cat some shots. This team can be a 55-win team. I can definitely see that in the realm of possibility for the New York Knicks. And number one, back-to-back, give me the Boston Celtics. The reason I have them at 1 again is they literally kept everyone on the team. I mean, you literally still have the exact same players. Porzingis isn't going to be playing at the beginning of the year. That's fine. We can kind of tell that this team is so stacked, especially that starting lineup. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jalen Brown, and Jayson Tatum is such a nasty core group of players. They won 60 games last year. They can do it again this year. They could win 60 games. I do think the race in the East will be a little closer this year, especially between them and the Knicks. I do think that Boston has very high hopes of doing similar things to last year. They are championship favorites again this year because of how dominant they were. They didn't play a series that went more than 5 games in the playoffs. You know how incredible that is to see. There's no really argument against them as to why they would be anything under maybe 2, unless you put the Knicks over them for some reason, which that's fine. But other than that, you can't argue the 76ers over Boston just based on health alone. They showed us why they were the best team in the NBA during the regular season. They came and brought it to everyone in the playoffs and showed us exactly that. I think this Boston team is very well primed for a repeat. I'm so excited for this NBA season, and thank you for sticking with me through the standings so far. We have just gone through where every team in the NBA, all 30, will be ranked. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe for that. If you have any other ideas, let me know, and I will keep uploading, posting as much as I can. And I have a couple ideas lined up as well, so just let me know if you have anything else you'd like to see. And if you like the video format, we'll keep rocking with it just like how we are. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and peace.